think that if I ever write a book, which I never will, I would call...
Are you sure?
I would call the book The Meat and the Sandwich, because an executive is the meat and the sandwich. On one side, there are investors who want a reward for their capital. On another side, there is employees who want their jobs to be secured. Along with that, you have customers, and the meat and the sandwich are the executives who have to make that happen quarter after quarter, year after year, and it is unrelenting. So when things go down, you do need resilience, and many times there were many downturns in those years. And the biggest, I think I mentioned it earlier, the biggest example of resilience I saw was in the tourist industry, where a catastrophe really came 2008-9. I mean, planes were almost empty. And the tourist industry just knuckled down, reinvented itself. We came up with The Gathering. I don't know if you can remember The Gathering, which was it was even more important than the business it generated, because it regenerated
that was Dave
confidence.
McWilliams, is it? Was Dave McWilliams involved in some of those things? There was a time when people were trying to get us all together to come home.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah. And we came up with that, and it worked, again, much better than we thought it would work. We thought we might get 50 or 100 gatherings around the country of all sorts. In the end, there were 5,000 gatherings that year, 2013. 5,000 from people with red hair in one place, from lighthouse keepers in the Hook in County Wexford, to all sorts of people, the power clan in Waterford, and so on. But 5,000 gatherings happened. But the real thing, I mean, it obviously brought in a couple of 100 million, but it re-energized the industry, and it showed the industry that there was a future out there and that they could do it. And it also was great, I thought, because it was one of those programs that you don't get very often, which was from the ground up. There were no grants, or very few anyway. There were no grants, because the first question you get when you have a new program in tourism is, what are the grants? What are the grants? The answer was, there are no grants. This is up to your creativity in every city, town, village, parish, all over the country. And some marvellous, magnificent creativity came out. And it was all ground up, not top down.
And what is it about Irishness? I know we're modern, I know we're literary geniuses, we claim. How would you describe Irishness, having done it the way you've done the brand, Bord Fáilte?
Yeah.
You met somebody who lived. Being Irish is what?
I think being Irish is special. It's definitely very special.
But do we overplay it? Do we think?
We probably do a little bit, but there is a lot in what we think. There is a lot in what we think.
Because in the UK, it's a different Irish than maybe in Spain and the US.
And the US, exactly, yeah. It is a different, there's a different, but the British probably love the Irish more than the other way around.
Yeah, I wonder why.
But it is a special thing, I think, and I don't think we overplay it that much.
And if there any selfish, iconic moment you like to talk in the bar in Fitzwilliam of achievement you'd like to share of sporting?
Oh gosh, I'm far too humble to.
Go on.
There are a number of people I play tennis with in Fitzwilliam, and they're dying to know, how good were you? You see, and they
how good were you?
They kind of circle the wagon. They never ask direct question, but did you play Class 1, which was the gold standard in Dublin tennis and so on, which I did when I was in college here. But I was telling them one day when they were probing me, I said, did you ever hear of Sean Sorensen, who was Ireland's best tennis player at the time? A lovely guy I knew growing up. And they all heard of Sean and had high regard for him. Well, I said, I beat Sean. That's how good I was. The only trouble with the story, I said, is I was 25 and he was 11.
It still counts him.
Yeah, I still beat him. And for years I had the clipping from the Cork Examiner. Unfortunately, when I moved house, it got lost.
But still true.
Still true. Yeah.
In terms of personal resilience, without trampling on your personal life, you had a few moments in your own personal life where it was tough. The passing of Anthea, who had motor neurons, which must be a dreadful...
It's a dreadful disease. We all saw it with Charlie Bird. And Anthea probably was was lucky, if you can say that with motor, that she was diagnosed in February of 2018, and she left us in November. So
it was 1,000 days.
It was what's that, 9 months or something like that. So it was relatively short, but it's awful. It's an awful disease, and we saw all the great people who operate in the motor neuron disease, and we tried to be helpful to them. They asked for the files and so on. Of course, we gave those, and they tried to be helpful to us. But it is unfortunately a terminal disease, and sadly, she left us in 2018.
Oh yeah, Joan Egan, I know, who was involved with Riverdance for years. It was tough.
Oh, it's tough. Tough.
And how would you dig deep? How would you get yourself through? You always strike me as a very upbeat. Well, it must be tough.
I wasn't at that time, okay. I can tell you.
How could you?
That wasn't easy. My kids were terrific, and they came around me. You know Chris, and I think you may have met Lynn, but they were both very young when you met them. But they were terrific support to me. You just have to get on with it. I'm not a very good person at being on my own, and people were very nice, and they'd ask you out for supper or something. But then when you go home at 10 o'clock and you bang that door, it's a silent house, and that didn't sit easily on my shoulder. I found that very difficult.
Yeah, it's easier said than done. Just phone me up and go out for dinner. It's hard to dig yourself
in. It is. And I was very lucky. I re-met Val, my current wife, Val Bresnahan, who I'd known when I was in UCD in 1962, and I had taken Val out, as you did in the 1960s. We went to the movies, and I'd taken her out 2 or 3 times. I even remembered the movie, which she didn't. So we got reacquainted, and lo and behold, we remarried in 2020, and we've been together ever since. And it has given me a new life. I sold in Waterford my house. She sold her house, which was in Stillorgan, and we've downsized to a what do we call it? An apartment in off Morehampton Road.
A penthouse, I heard.
No.
But you're back to Dublin. You went to college in UCD, didn't you?
Went to college in UCD, yeah.
I can't believe that. Waterford Corkman come to Dublin to learn.
That's right. The funny thing about Waterford, it always looked much more towards Dublin than it did towards Cork, even though Cork was, before motorways, Cork was fractionally nearer.
Yeah.
But
I always found that strange.
I think it was the rugby matches and the soccer matches and the Gaelic matches. Everyone kind of came to Dublin for All-Irelands, and not that Waterford was in. Actually, you're talking to one of the very few Waterford men alive who saw Waterford win an All-Ireland in 1959. Wow. Well, I have to be honest, I saw the drawn match. There was a replay, and Waterford beat Kilkenny in the replay. But I count myself as one of the few who has seen Waterford win an All-Ireland, and I hope I'll see it again before I go.
You will.
Yeah.
And if you met people now who are thinking going into business, you recommend it as a way of life?
Oh gosh, I would. Yeah. It's changed an awful lot since my time, of course, and all this AI and ChatGPT, all this sort of stuff is totally
Do you ChatGPT? Do you?
I do. My washing machine broke down recently, and I ChatGPT'd its solution, and it was very, very easy to understand.
Is it?
Mind you, I got a neighbour to help me, but it is good. Yeah, no, I mean, obviously, business evolves all the time, as it should do.
Yeah, I've heard you mention this thing, the sigmoid curve. Sigmoid curve. Yeah. I found that fascinating because that is what life is all. That sums up what life is all about, isn't it? And the older you get, the more sigmoid curve you feel.
Oh, absolutely. And
explain that.
Well, I'll tell you a little story. I happened to be sitting in Waterford, black tie dinner, sitting next to Alex Ferguson when he was at the peak of his career. And he came to Waterford. There's a great tie between Waterford and Man United. Shea Brennan would have had a lot to do with that. And he came over, and he was meant to be sitting next to the Taoiseach. Right. The Taoiseach got marooned. The company, or the government jet, the government jet couldn't leave Cork, and I became Taoiseach for a night. So I had a great time sitting next to Sir Alex, but I also used the sigmoid curve, as you ask about it, in my remarks introducing him. And the sigmoid curve is a very simple concept in business that says that everything in life, whether it's business or football or any sport or love affairs, there is a cycle, and things go up and things go down. Simple. And the sigmoid curve really says that in business, the time to make a step